pain leaving the body?
Okay, I tested it and it works, so hopefully. And now we have two angles. I don't know if I'm going to get that fancy, but...
Two. Holy shit.
Recording in progress.
Because I wonder if it... Tissue boxes are always great.
Yeah. Industrial strength.
Okay, we are recording. On. Oh, sorry. Whoa, that is interesting. So wide angle.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Austin Davis.
Jenifer Krause.
This is the Universal Truth Podcast. We're doing our series on pain. This is how pain leaves the body, which is a very interesting topic. I'm going to let Jenifer start because this was her series.
Oh, yeah.
How does pain leave the body?
Well, it is interesting that I have been currently experiencing this the last, I guess now 5 weeks or 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks. And now I'm starting to get clients that are now having the same thing, because that's what happens when you work through something and resolve something, then the same people that also need that end up showing up. So the thing that has been happening, okay, let me
Backtrack.
I always talk about myself, but it's how I relate to things and how I feel like sometimes it's easier to understand what's going on if I just talk about my experiences. But pain leaving the body, you know, we've talked about pain entering the body, pain being stored in the body, and we hold on to it because it hasn't been released or processed and released. Pain moving through the body, and then when it's leaving the body, sometimes it can be just as painful or uncomfortable as when it enters into the body or when it's stored in the body. So it is especially the pain that has been compounded over generations, over lifetimes, over, you know, our lifetime experience, and it can be really fucking uncomfortable. But when you're working on the things, the pain, when you're working on it intentionally, it needs to release. And when you have been, like for me, guarded, right, like super guarded on the right side, or over masculine, and then you start to relax and let that stuff go, then the muscles, you know, start to relax. And when you have been storing something for so long, you have these compensation patterns, right? You have the body wants and needs to still function. So what happens as a result is that there's certain things that work way harder than others, and some parts of you end up not working at all. So then when the things that are relaxing and letting go, it puts the other muscles and everything else into, you know, they have to figure out what to do. Now they have jobs that they didn't have before, and then it's like, what is going on? And your body has to recalibrate.
Yeah. No, that's how it works. Is, you know, if you look at things even down to a neurologic level, nerves are hypersensory and they feel everything. So a lot of times what'll happen is to protect themselves when they're interfered with or injured, they go dormant or they'll shut down so you don't feel pain. And you might think, well, there's no pain, no problem, and all these secondary and tertiary nerve pathways will kind of fire up to take the burden. And you can make it that way for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden things start falling apart because you're running on secondary or tertiary nerve systems and go, well, I'm just getting older, everything's falling apart, and blah, blah, blah. And really, it's the body has not been functioning or communicating properly at all. So with chiropractic, for instance, as we're adjusting, we're clearing interference from the nervous system, and we clear that primary pathway, that nerve, to put it simply, let's call it like a bruised or has like figure like a black and blue mark on that nerve. That nerve can only heal when it's pressure free, but will feel itself healing because it's hypersensory. And that I'll have to tell patients, you may notice new and exciting discomforts. It may get way more intense. It'll travel up the line and kind of distill down to a point. But it'll mimic, like you're talking about, almost exactly the same discomfort they experienced when it happened, but it's part of the healing process. And then it's, although whether they believe in it or not, it's going to get better. It's where people's like faith is tested, because they're like, is this really good pain or is this actually destructive pain? Why is the pain good? Should I be experiencing this? And then they head to painkillers to kill the pain, when in fact it's their body communicating, and that chemical interference interrupts the actual healing process, slows it down. And then when it doesn't heal the way that maybe they thought it would, they're like, see, I knew it was something bad, but it's really because they're over toxifying the body. So a lot of our education with patients is just lean into the pain. Once you're doing the right things, you've got the right mechanisms in place, lean into it. Pain is not your problem. Pain is not going to kill you. It's uncomfortable, but the more your body can be in pain, the more it can communicate, and the faster it heals. And then it's like one day it just sort of turns a corner and the pain is gone. And it's odd because it mimicked exactly what they were going through. So it is overcoming a large part of the educated mind, ego mechanism of, I know what's happening, versus I don't know what's happening. I do know that it's beneficial. And switching that so that they don't run to the drugstore and just nuke their system.
It's so hard to teach people that have been programmed that way, right? That pain is bad. And I always revert back to pain is just information. And of course, what I do to help ease people's minds is like, okay, well, you can go through the checklist, like, did you actually hurt yourself? Right. Did you, go back? And usually they'll be like, oh no, it's an old injury, right? Yeah. And it's like, well, you're doing all the right things, right? You've worked on it physically, obviously. You're working on it emotionally, and mentally you're working on it too. So it's just, it's like saying bye. Yeah. It's just, it wants to be recognized, so it can just be like, see you later.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a little bit of a mind fuck, really, right? Yeah. You and I have talked about this recently, where it's like, man, it really does test your faith, how you said. It makes you like, whew, okay, I know what's happening. We know what's happening, right? But we still have a little bit of like, because we have these minds that like to think sometimes and overthink. It's like, okay, is that really what's happening? And it really is a test. It really is.
Yeah, and I think a large part of it comes down to programming as like, I think not enough parents let their kids experience pain in a productive way. It's like as soon as there's a sniffle, any little cut, any bonk on the head, is like this, oh my God, come here, baby boy, you're okay. And you start to link, like, any pain becomes this cataclysmic event. All pain is like the most destructive thing in the world. nobody should ever feel pain for a moment, which is absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
And I've seen it with visiting friends that have kids where one kid like dropped literally like a plastic bowl or something on his foot, and his mom wasn't around yet, and I watched him start looking around and like got a glimpse of where she was, and then launched into this crying fit, and she scoops him up and she's petting his head. And this is, it's like a 3-year-old kid. I'm like, come on. My son dropped a 20-pound kettlebell on his foot the other day. And not saying we're like negligent parents, like you're fine, what? But I'm like, we've taught him pain is your body getting stronger. And I'm like, you good? And he's like, I'm good. I'm like, you just walk around, walk it off. But there's no acknowledgement of like your pain equals there needs to be like a whole song and dance around how we're going to help you. It's
right, because then they're not learning how to.
Well, they grow up as adult babies. They grow up to like have their first heartbreak, their first rejection, their first loss, their first you're not going to get this job. They're like anybody challenges them and they fall to pieces looking for someone to pick them up,
right,
and stroke their hair and put a little blanket on them and tell them everything's going to be fine. And it's like that's not productive behavior long term.
Right.
And there are
neither
times
is
to do
telling
it.
them like you're fine, you're fine, you're fine.
Sure.
Just acknowledging that it happened,
Yeah.
right? And then processing it, walking around, that's how that helps them to kind of let it move through, right? So they're not holding on to it, and they don't require an outside source to make it feel better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a full believer of you need to thickly callous your body in a loving way, where it's like, because it also prevents people from trying things and doing things. So like, what if I get hurt?
Yeah.
And I'm all by myself and no one's going to be there. And it's like, so that you just get this like, I'll just stay in my little zone, and the pain I know is probably better than the pain I don't know. So I'm just going to like hold on to it and like let it be my little buddy. And it's like my identity, and I don't know who I am without it. So I'm just not going to work on it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a big part of releasing that pain is like, did it kill me? No. Am I worse for it? Probably not. Did I learn something yet? Like, just taking a moment to analyze it and realizing that pain sucks. I don't want people in pain, but I also don't want people not in pain ever, because it's essential for the learning mechanism of the brain and your body, and to go, oh, I will go talk to that person or apply for that job or move to another place or whatever, because it's like, I've dealt with pain. I've learned from it. I've released it. It's not who I am. It doesn't define me. It's just a speed bump on a long road.
And you were fine on the other side of it.
And you're fine on the other side of it. In fact, you're better off.
Right.
And on that long road, there's probably lots and lots of people just like on the shoulder with their flashers on, staring at the speed bump going, I don't know if my car can handle this. It's like, the fuck? So the problem is I don't know of like what I call West Coast way of presenting this to people.
Yeah.
So I've come to learn that there's an East Coast way to do things and a West Coast way.
For sure.
And maybe there is a Midwest way. I've only lived East Coast and West Coast.
Yeah.
So the East Coast way is like, toughen the fuck up.
Yeah.
You got to move on. Like this, you're holding everybody up.
Grow the fuck up.
West Coast is like, if you feel called to the space where your energy will allow you to, so I don't know a West Coast way to be like, it's just some pain, like you're going to be fine. If you think your pain's the worst pain ever, it's not. Not saying it's not real for you, but it's not the worst ever. People have been through and are going through much more horrific shit. So perspective is a huge part of the pain release process, because it's like, but they said really mean things to me. And it's like, that's what you're fucking holding on to? They said mean things?
Yeah.
They called you names? Like, there's people in Africa with genital mutilation issues. Like, you got called a name. You got to release that and move on. It's not who you are.
Well, to some people, that's like devastating.
The name calling?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That-
we need to shift
Well, yes.
to a space where people are like, okay, maybe I'm an asshole, and move on. Like, right?
Well,
I'm not crazy.
Yeah,
here.
but you don't want to discount anyone's feelings. Like, even if it's
But how do we?
How do you discount?
Yes.
Why should you discount people's feelings?
If
and
it's
pain?
preventing them from processing something?
Oh, well, yes.
Yeah.
But you by helping them process it, you're helping them identify and telling them that their pain and their experience is valid.
Yes.
Yes.
Describe valid in this sense.
Like comparing name calling to genital mutilation.
Right.
I mean, it is a perspective for sure, and also they're still allowed to have their feelings and their experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. No. That's not the point I'm making.
Okay.
The I will never let this go point is what I'm making. Like, have your feelings, experience them.
Yes.
See what it does to you, see how it makes you feel. If that's the way you never want to feel again, start to build a structure for yourself where you can elevate yourself to a friend group, life group, family that treats you with the respect you deserve. But I'm never going to leave this space because someone called me a pig is like, to me, seems to be unproductive. And yet a place where most people choose to just
because they haven't really had the space, right? The safe space to be able to let that in, and the right people to help them facilitate that, which is why you and I do what we do, and other people like us. But that's not...
And the safe space you're talking about is internal?
Well, no, a lot of people, like, in my experience, especially with new clients, they've gone to a therapist, they've gone to someone with Reiki, or they've gone to a massage, but they haven't been able to put all the pieces together and allow and have that other person that is safe for them to put the pieces together and allow them to process and identify what is actually stuck and then be able to release it.
So you're describing their safe space with another person.
Well, yeah, because usually if they don't have a safe space within themselves, or other people, it's because they don't have it within themselves. So they almost need to. This is why we have people and why we.
Do you feel though that someone should create the safe space within themselves first before seeking safe space with others?
It depends on the person. I will say, from my experience, people either do it as a defense mechanism, afraid of other people because of trauma, so they won't seek help outside of themselves, so they only do it themselves. But that you can only go so far with only yourself. Yeah. And then there's other people that almost go the opposite direction, where they're only seeking out externally and not finding the internal safe space to be able to do that. Right. Which is why I do what I do. I like to be that safe space and teach them the tools so then they can not rely on me, so they can start to have that process of, and it really is all about trust, right? Trust in yourself that you're able to do it, that you can work through things, and trusting other people. So it depends on the person. But of course, if people are coming to me, it's because they're not, Yeah,
I see that point. I've always been an internal processor and very selective of external processing with others. But I can see how if someone
you probably had
needs help finding that space, someone that has found it can help them find it.
You probably had a great foundation, right, of awareness growing up to be able to do that. See, that I haven't, which is why I get the clients that also haven't.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I did internally process things by myself because I was forced to, because I didn't have the money to do it. I also didn't like therapists because they didn't listen to me when I was a kid. When I was forced to do it through court when my parents were getting divorced, they didn't listen to what I said, and so it was kind of, I guess I did kind of do it all mostly internally as a result of not trusting other people.
I've never spoken to a therapist.
No.
I don't trust them.
Really?
Yeah, because you have to pay them.
What do you mean? People
Well,
pay you to be a chiropractor?
Yeah, it's primary health care.
So
I'm
what is
analyzing your
wrong?
nervous system.
What's wrong with paying a therapist? Like,
I feel like if you find the right people in your life, like friends
yeah.
and loved ones, that you can achieve the same outcome.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but there's some things that you really should have a third person that's not, that you're not connected to, that can be, an observer and be like marriage counseling.
Well,
Are
I
you
think
going to
part
go
of
to
it is
your...
I don't know this person's life, like what they're bringing to it, because there's this element of subjectivity to everything. And I don't know this person. I've never hung out with them. I've never spent time with them. We've never been through anything together. And for them to impartially impart blueprint building ideology
Yeah.
is alarming to me.
I agree with you because I've experienced all that, and
Yeah.
I will not go to a therapist either. But I do think it is important because I've kind of...
I think you
I
need
think
to
it's
get a
important for some
good buddy,
people.
get backpacks on, and climb a mountain.
Some
for
people can't do
3,
that,
yeah,
or they're
everybody
not
can do that.
able to do that.
How are they not able to do that?
XYZ.
No. That's ridiculous.
Oh my god. Let's say you live in a
Walk
New York
across your-
City.
walk
You're
across the
not
state
going to
then.
a mountain.
Walk across your state. You got 2 feet, 1 foot. Hell, you have no feet. Roll across your state. Journey to a point of beyond exhaustion.
Sure. But sometimes you just want to let shit out and you don't want anybody's opinions. And
How is walking across the state imparting anybody
no,
else's
I mean
opinion?
you want someone's ear. So
That's what I
just
say,
like
grab a buddy and walk across your state.
Yeah.
Or to the next town.
Sure. I mean, that's one way to do it.
Go to Goodwill, get some basic camping gear, and go beyond your exhaustion point. And you will find a place where you're like, oh, I've been holding on to a lot of junk I don't want to carry anymore because it's exhausting. I need to get to this thing, and all of this
That is easy for people that can understand what's going on.
That's what this is about. I'm teaching people simple ways to do things. That's why they're listening, right? Are they listening
I
because
hope
they know
so.
everything?
Well,
They're listening because they're like, I hope I get some really good advice on ways to do things that I didn't think about. That's what I'm doing.
Yes.
So get a buddy or go by yourself if you're confident enough.
Yes.
Get some simple backpacking gear. If you live in a place that has elevation, climb a mountain. If you live in a flat state, walk across your state.
Yeah.
Camp where you can, do what you got to do, but get to an exhaustion point where you can't go any further. See what's weighing you down, release it, and continue to do so until you have a clarity point that you are much more capable, stronger, smarter, more capable than you've ever imagined or been told or thought. And then repeat
Yeah.
indefinitely.
Oh, I'm with you on the nature.
You Forrest
part.
Gump it.
Yeah.
Just start going. And what happened, right? He didn't make it all the way across. What did he stop and he's like, I'm tired. I'm going to go home now.
Yeah.
Because he had reached his point of like, I've gotten as far as I wanted to get with this.
Yeah.
I did it. I'm now at a point where I don't even know why I'm doing it anymore because I got past it. You like seeing yourself?
Oh, I was like, did I hit record?
So you got to Forrest Gump it.
Yeah.
That guy had problems. Serious problems. Deformities. Leg deformities.
Yeah.
His wife, his gal was like an absolute train wreck.
Yeah.
His mom did everything possible to keep a good life for him, including some questionable stuff while he was in the house.
Right.
He had to go through some things.
Yeah.
And what did he do? He's like, I just started running. Just go. Just go until it makes sense. Like when I started writing for the first time, I would just do circles on the page, circle, until like a word came out, and then like more word. It wasn't like, and this is the other that people get so paralyzed by. Well, if I'm gonna do it, it's got to be this perfect process where I pick the right person to talk to, and I say the right things, and they give me the right tools, and then it's done, and because it's perfect. I would just circle until a word, and then a sentence, and then I was like, I don't feel like writing about that sentence, and I would do it again and do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
And you just, Forrest Gump, you just start running until you're like, why am I running? And then you're like, why am I thinking about running? Why did I start? And you just go, and you just start knocking the junk out until you get to that point where you're standing at the middle of nowhere going, oh, I got it. I had to do this for myself, and I did it. Now I'm going to go home. And you don't need to Insta tweet about it so everybody knows you did it. You just got to do it and go, okay, I did it. Back to work. And you go back. And that's it. And it doesn't have to be a big hullabaloo and a whole thing.
Yeah.
I was talking to a patient yesterday. In chiropractic school, we get our breaks between quarters, right? On one break, I had gone to Cambodia to serve as a chiropractic, not technically a doctor, but like an intern. I was working under a doctor's license. We served like thousands of people over the course of a week. And if you don't know much about Cambodia, it's one of the most Civil War torn countries, most heavily landmine country, a lot of disabled people, a lot of orphans, a lot of it's a rough place, but sweetest, most loving people in the world. So we went there and we like served thousands of people living in huts. We were like eating with the people like squatting on the side of the road. I then went down to other parts of Cambodia, like was floating the Tunnel Sap River. We were like adjusting monks at these floating villages, and then like went into Vietnam and bought motorcycles and motorcycled the whole coast of Vietnam. And then like one day was just like, oh, I gotta head back to school. Like bought a plane ticket in Da Nang and like flew home. And like all this wild shit where I was like living out of a backpack, just adjusting. It was like a wild, could have been a whole series.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for it was to see what I was capable of. Could I travel essentially alone? Could I see that many people? Could I live in these conditions? What do I really need to survive to make it? As a chiropractor, what can I do with almost nothing? And we got back to school and everyone was like on and on and on about their like Tahoe vacation, or they went to San Diego or whatever, like they went surfing. It was like, and these long stories about like the lap of luxury here. And they're like, oh, what'd you do? I was like, oh, it was fun. I got out there and, got after it. And that was it. It wasn't like a big, like, everybody sit down. Let me tell you what I did. And it because it wasn't for anybody else.
Yeah. It
was for me and the people I was able to serve. And I think if more people got on the not everything is content train.
Yeah.
And just...
Well, don't you think that the other people might have been influenced and
it's not my responsibility.
Would have learned something from you? If
Maybe.
you shared it a little bit?
Maybe.
Or what if someone asked you, like, personally?
Oh,
like, hey, how was your vacation?
Yeah, I heard you went to Cambodia.
Then it would be a different story. Then you would educate and share that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because people only change when they ask for help.
Yes.
So if me sitting a bunch of people down, explaining this beautiful process that was mostly for me, they'd be like, that cocky asshole just spoke for an hour about himself and blah, blah, blah. So if someone's like, hey, tell me more about your trip, then of course. But I didn't do it to come back for the stories or for the images and all this stuff. It was just like, you do it to do it.
Right.
And that's it. And it's okay if nobody ever finds out.
Yeah.
If you don't tell anybody, it doesn't make it less effective. It doesn't make you less of anything. It's just you did it because you did it. And that's it.
Right.
So find more things to do just to do them.
Yeah.
And never tell anybody.
Yeah. Well, if you want to.
No.
No.
There should be some things you do that are just anonymous.
Yeah. I think we talked about this before, maybe a while ago, about doing things like that, where it's like the true essence of a person is when no one's looking, how are you acting?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the I was getting coffee, and I had like a free, you get like a punch card type of thing, and I got like a free coffee, and they're like, oh, do you want to use it on this coffee? And I was like, no, give it to the next person that comes in. And then and it's like and I left before even the next person came,
right.
So they didn't even know who it was from. It wasn't to get acknowledgement from them that I gave them something. It was doing something out of the kindness of your heart that you want to do,
right.
And not to get a response.
Right.
Not to achieve something, not to get recognition for something.
Right.
It's just you're doing what you feel is right for you.
Yeah, like we said, giving to give, not giving to get.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we bring this back around to pain, leaving the body?
Yeah. So in the Rocky movies, when that dude's getting beat down,
Mm-hmm.
Rocky Balboa is beat up. This is one of my mentors would always talk about this. There was one point, I think he's in his corner and he's beat to a pulp. And it's like what makes a champion, right? It's like that they get up one more time than the other person. But he's beat to a pulp, and he like looks and he's just basically goes, I ain't going down no more. And like that was his like rally cry. I was like, I ain't going down no more. And I got a chiropractor buddy where if he listens to this, he'll laugh. Because like that's his whole thing. He was like doing a mission trip in South America. He was like under the tutelage of a person who was an absolute psychopath monster, despicable human being. And he's like questioning everything. And he had this like in the mirror moment of like, I ain't going down no more. Like I'm releasing this pain. I'm releasing this problem. I ain't going down no more. And it's that mentality of setting it where you're going to do whatever it takes to release the pain, to process, adapt, analyze, and release, and no matter what, because you have the right intention set, which is a crucial part of, I think, releasing pain effectively is with the right intentions.
Right, for sure.
Because there's very destructive ways to release pain.
Yeah.
And it's usually by jumping into other pain. So
yeah.
It's like, I ain't going down no more.
I know that very well.
And you just, I ain't going down no more. And it is whatever hits me, I ain't going down no more. And you just to start deflecting it off, and then you get to a point where you're not even absorbing the pain. And not saying it's not real and it's not there. It's just your body's so adapted to it that it's like, nope, that's just a little pain. It's no big deal.
Yeah, being like Rocky.
Yeah. Rocky.
I lived in South Philly, so I
There you
know
go.
all about the Italian market area. That makes me think of something as well. When I had some other pain that was leaving my body a couple of years ago, and I was really trying to release it faster.
Yeah.
And it was so painful, obviously. And I could barely walk. I couldn't teach yoga. I couldn't massage. And I called my hypnotherapist, and we did something on the phone, and he was able to help me like block the pain so that I could function. At least it lasted for about 24 hours, but it was interesting just through 30 minutes on the phone of hypnotherapy, I was able to at least temporarily block that pain in the physical body just with my mind. Yeah. And I say that for a couple of reasons. A, we have the power in our minds, right, to let go of the pain. And B, it was a temporary fix because I had to fucking go through it in order to allow space and to feel it in, and then for it to be processed and let go. I couldn't, I'm a hypnotherapist, so obviously I'm like, I find it important. However, I will not do that type of work of like trying to block the pain, because to me that's not actually really helping you.
Right.
It's almost like a pill, but in a therapeutic temporary form, right? It's a temporary thing. And I could have done it in a different way, like getting to the root cause, which I eventually did on my own, but getting to that to be able to process it and let it go faster instead of just automatically trying to stop the feeling of it. Be like Rocky.
Be like Rocky.
Be like Rocky.
Well,
anything else? In
an effort to give someone a simple playbook on releasing pain, my go-tos are mantras. I am mantras.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I am and then an affirmative word. Not like I am going to get better.
Yes.
I am better. I am strong. I am healed. I am whole. I am complete, right? So I am statements. And then for me, writing is really important. And we've talked about this on previous podcasts. I think writing, but not keeping the writing, just like burning it or flushing down or whatever, getting rid of it.
Yeah.
But writing, and like I said, not perfect writing, not grammatical, not sometimes it's doodling.
Mm-hmm.
It's just getting it out of my brain.
Yeah.
So it's affirmations, journaling, visualization, which ties into the affirmation component, but visualizing things done like what I call picture framed. Like if it was so perfect in your mind, you could hang it on the wall. And then literally it's just a bit of not arrogance, it's the stubbornness. A bit of stubbornness going, I ain't going down. I'm gonna get back up. I'm gonna try the same thing again with a different spin. Not like insanity where it's the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Right. But it's like if I talked to someone and got rejected, I'm not going full hermit. I'm never talking to another person again because I got rejected. It's okay. Well, that energy presentation did not work with that person. Let's try this person. Let's try this person.
Yeah.
And it's just, and it's things that, where if the worst that comes of it is they're like, no thank you. You're like, okay, cool. I'll do that 1,000 times a day. So it's the stubbornness of just knowing that you're doing the right things, even if it's not matching up with the people around you. The visualization, affirmations, and journaling. That to me is tremendous at releasing pain. And then the last component is actual physical challenges, because that stimulates a brain center that writing doesn't, talking doesn't. It's you gotta get yourself past that exhaustion point and go, oh wait a second,
into the body.
I did it. And it's like the 4-minute mile, right? They said nobody could do it. Nobody can run a 4-minute mile. So this guy what was his name? Prefontaine. He was in the University of Oregon, basically where Nike started. And it was held. Nobody can run a 4-minute mile. And this one dude, Prefontaine, was like, I'm going to do this. And he ran a sub 4-minute mile.
Wow.
Within months of him doing it, like 6 other people did it. Because they were like, wait a second, what? It can be done? And then like everybody's doing it. So it's like, it's sort of this like, you have to, within yourself, like find whatever your 4-minute mile is and go, well, there's no way I could do a pull-up. And you do and you're like, what? Well, there's no way I could do 5 pull-ups. And then it's pushing yourself, because if someone has done it, it's possible.
Right.
If no one has done it, it's still possible. So you just have to be the one to do it.
Right. I find that reminds me of doing yoga, right? So that's that's what helps me release, process, like all the things is doing yoga, getting into my physical body, right? And connecting with it instead of trying to ignore it and run away from it, getting into the physical, and then nature and chiropractor. Those are the top 3 for me. Nature.
So do you see how this boils down, though? It's for someone listening, thinking, writing, speaking, acting. It's almost like you need to live your life and not run from every little thing. Yeah. The more you live your life, the more you realize everyone's just trying to live their lives, anyone who you think has got a leg up on you is just as scared as you are.
Right.
Nobody's an expert. It's just like there's no big secret. There's no big mystery. It's so much of it is just show up. Just show up every day, willing to work a little harder than the day before.
Yep.
And that alone will take care of so much of what hangs people up.
Yep. One step at a time.
Right? Lead with love.
Yeah.
Be honest and just show up ready to work a little harder.
Yeah. Good.
And with that, we will wrap up this wonderful podcast. This has been one of my favorites. I like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. As always,
it's always a good time.
Next week, we will be talking.
Can we?
Yeah, we don't have to
I want to talk about vaccinations.
Next week, we'll have a very short, very easy conversation. Probably a 5-minute footnote about vaccinations.
Perfect.
We'll call it the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Awesome. Out.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Do you want to